She's getting her moment, but she'll, as I say, I have no respect for her, but she's roadkill in the Republican Party, and she has no implementation on policy, so I don't give a damn what she says. And I hate to be crass, but she's not going to affect how I invest dollars. I'm more...
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I've stumbled across this video where we have a CNN political panel discussing economic approval ratings. And let me tell you, it gets heated. You've got Kevin O'Leary trying to defend the policies, while Paul Begala and the rest of the panel are absolutely tearing apart the messaging strategy. We even have a clip of Marjorie Taylor Greene criticizing the president for gaslighting people about affordability, which is wild considering she's been one of the most loyal supporters. This debate covers everything from hamburger prices to tariff policies to whether billionaires can actually understand working class struggles. So make sure you watch until the end, and please comment down below where you're watching from. I really love to see people from all over the world connecting in here. All right, now let's get into the video.
Leary, Kevin, let me start with you. I mean, these economic numbers for the president, the toughest they have ever been for him. I mean, this has been, even when he lost the election to Joe Biden, he still was basically above water with Americans on the economy. Maybe not on other things, but on the economy. People are not feeling great about where they are. And I'm curious if you think he's running into the exact same problem that bedeviled President Biden and the Biden administration, which is that they kept throwing numbers at people, insisting, yes, no, it's fine, it's all great. People just didn't feel that way and they weren't buying it. It seems the same thing may be happening to Trump. What say you?
So, as you know, Casey, I don't shill for politicians, but I shill for policy. There are some truths in his roadshow, and let's face it, this is the earliest anybody's gone on the road for the midterms, because that's exactly what he's doing. He's on the road pitching for the midterms. Yes, inflation's come down from 9 to 3.1. The target of the Fed is 2. You saw massive dissension on that rate cut yesterday, so there won't be any more anytime soon. So here we are. Inflation is still showing up in consumer goods and services on protein and grocery. Part of it is he hasn't fine-tuned the tariffs yet on things like potash and bauxite. People don't care about that, but that's what farmers are complaining about. They can't get potash because there's none in America. They got to buy it from Saskatchewan, and it's tariffed right now. So a little fine-tuning on that. There's good news and there's bad news. But hey, every politician goes out there and shills on. Remember, he's only been there 11 months, and I have to hold some high marks for some policy.
Make a dent?
It's too soon because I don't know if we're going to get anything good on housing, which is a pain point. Softwood lumber is still tariffed at 25%. I mean, this fine-tuning stuff I'm talking about, nobody cares about, but it shows up at input costs, shows up at inflation. Ouch. And it's hard, and as everybody's saying, you can't say everything's perfect. It's not yet perfect. And so more work to be done, but midterms, let's say, are 11 months away. And that's what's going to matter. Rubber hits the road then. By the way, we'll see who's left in the cabinet at Jan 31st. If any whacking is going to occur within the policy cabinet, it'll be happening in January. The team that's going to go to the midterms will be defined on January 31st. And as a policy guy, an investor, that's all I care about. I think, you know, you got to. Here's a problem. We're only 2% off the all-time highs in the S&P, so the world likes the American economy. Sorry to tell you that, but it's true.
I certainly take your point. I'm not sure. I think that 25% tariff on the wood you need to build houses if housing costs are your biggest policy problem necessarily is something that's around the edges. Let me bring the rest of the panel in. I mean, Paul Begala, I'm reminded of your old colleague's axiom that remains true today, that it is the economy stupid. And honestly, people don't feel great. I mean, I think everyone at this table, it probably shows up in your, I mean, I'm trying to buy Christmas presents for my kids. The budget that I had set last year for those Christmas gifts, let me tell you, does not go nearly as far this year.
Well, you should know your kid only needs one doll.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
Just saying. Just saying.
She does not have 37, I will say that.
And hamburger, $6.23 a pound, highest in the history of hamburger. Try raising 4 boys. Yeah. Eat a lot of hamburger, okay? This is the problem. It's Christmas. I've been watching It's a Wonderful Life, just like, Zuzu says, every time you hear a bell ring, an angel gets their wings.
Gets his wings, yeah.
Every time Donald Trump talks about the cost of living, 5 Republicans lose their seats. He is so dumb about this.
Quite as poetic.
He is repeating exactly Biden's mistake. By the way, Biden's all-time low in the economy was 33. Trump is already below that. And by the way, cost of living croaked Biden's presidency and croaked his vice president's candidacy to succeed him. So 31, this is awful. It's awful. And I just want to say, as a Democrat, keep doing it, Mr. Trump. I'm praying for your health. We don't want you to get laryngitis. Go out there every day and keep electing Democrats with your idiotic economic.
Okay, so right off the bat, Casey is bringing up something that we all need to talk about because this is huge. The administration is facing the exact same problem that tanked the previous administration. You remember how they kept saying the economy is great, inflation is under control, everything is fine, and people were like, no, it's not? We're living through that again, except the numbers are even worse. And Kevin comes in talking about inflation dropping from 9 to 3.1%, like that's supposed to make us feel better. Here's what he's not telling you. The Fed's target is 2%. We're still above target. And yeah, sure, the stock market is doing great. But let me ask you something. How many working families do you know who are checking their portfolio every morning? Because I don't know any. Most people are checking their bank account, wondering if they can afford groceries. Casey brings up Christmas shopping. And that hit me, because that's real life. The budget you had last year doesn't go as far this year. That's not made up political talking points. That's what families are experiencing at the checkout line. And when someone mentions hamburger is over $6 a pound, the highest it's ever been, that's not abstract economic theory. That's 4 boys who need to eat dinner. But here is where Paul Begala absolutely nails it. He said this: every time the president talks about cost of living, 5 Republicans lose their seats. He is so dumb about this. And you know what? He's right. Because the approval rating on the economy is at 31%. You want to know how low that is? The previous administration's all-time low was 33%. We're below that. This is the part that should terrify anyone paying attention. The same messaging mistake that destroyed the last presidency and killed the VP's campaign is happening again. Telling people the economy is great when they can't afford their bills is political suicide. And here's the thing that Paul pointed out that I think is brilliant. Keep doing it. Keep going out there and telling people everything is fine when it's not. Because that's how you lose elections. You have to understand what's happening here. This isn't just bad polling. This is a fundamental disconnect between what leadership is saying and what people are living through every single day. And when you lose credibility on the one issue that matters most to voters, you lose everything.
Messaging. That's all I want.
I mean, I'm so happy to see Kevin here because I think the last time I was on with him, he was touting how great all these tariffs were going to work out. And instead, what I'm hearing now is that it needs to have some fine-tuning. The fact of the matter is that this is all self-inflicted. He inherited not a terrible economy. He inherited an economy that was actually improving. And what we see now is an economy that's stalled. It's stalled in jobs, it's stalled in housing, and prices are still very difficult for people. And what the real message is, and I'm sure that any economist will tell you this, is that prices don't come down unless you have a recession. So prices are not going to come down. So the idea that prices are going to come down is the wrong message to send. That is a fiction.
Yeah, inflation is coming down, as Kevin pointed out. I know Kevin's feeling the pain point on that Swiss tariff on watches. I'm sure he's suffering greatly. But, you know, if you have, this is like the tale of 2 economies, or maybe 3 economies.
Oh, look at that. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, there you go. Look.
God, raise taxes
There you go.
on the rich. Please, somebody raise taxes.
But this is the point I'm going to make, right? So if you have money, if you're a participant in the equities market today, you're doing very well. Just as Kevin said, the market's going gangbusters. So if you have a 401k, if you're participating in the equities market, you're doing pretty well. You're feeling good. A lot of people in America don't have money to invest. They're putting money in their tank. They're going to the grocery store. They're taking their dollars, trying to figure out what goes where. And so those are the people, that bottom third of the socioeconomic spectrum that was the Trump base, the black, brown, white, working class Americans that elected Donald Trump are the ones that are feeling most pain right now. And I think the president needs to figure out how to focus on that and get the message. Now, listen, come to January 1st, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, all those things kick in. There'll be more money in people's pockets. They'll start feeling that a little bit more. They'll have a little more money walk around with.
Not if they want health insurance.
But it's not. Well, they're going to get it fixed. But that's not quick. People want quick. They want quick. They want the president to talk about it.
And to your point, messaging. Donald Trump said it would be quick. It's true, Kevin. It's 11 months. But the reality is, Donald Trump said, vote for me. I will fix it. I believe he likes to use the expression on day one. The reality is he went to Pennsylvania and his White House advisors were like, help me, because Donald Trump never likes to admit that he's wrong. And that's not the message.
I want to play something that Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, of course, is, after having been loyal to the president for many years, now extraordinarily at odds with him. The president keeps calling her a traitor. She's leaving Congress. But she said something in an interview with CBS this week that kind of made a point that certainly we've talked about at this table because President Trump, when he was first elected in 2016, was in some ways, the everyman's rich guy, right? The person that perhaps if you did well, you applied yourself, you...
Oh, this is beautiful. Lulu just called Kevin out directly. And this is something we need to talk about because it exposes the whole strategy. She said, I'm so happy to see Kevin here because last time he was touting how great these tariffs were going to work out. And what I'm hearing is it needs fine-tuning. That is such a polite way of saying you were wrong. And that phrase, fine-tuning, let me tell you what that actually means. It means the policy isn't working. It means we implemented something that's hurting people and we're scrambling to fix it. But here's the problem. You can't fine-tune your way out of bad policy. You can't tweak around the edges when the foundation is broken. Lulu breaks down exactly what happened. He inherited an economy that was actually improving. Not perfect, but improving. And what we see is an economy that's stalled. Stalled in jobs. Stalled in housing. Prices are still crushing people. This is what I mean by self-inflicted wounds. These problems didn't have to happen. And then she drops this truth bomb that everyone needs to hear. Prices don't come down unless you have a recession. So prices are not going to come down. This is so important because people are being lied to about what's possible. When politicians promise prices will drop back to where they were, that's not how economics works. The only way prices significantly decrease is if the entire economy crashes. So either we're headed for a recession or people need to accept that prices aren't going back. David Urban brings up something that cuts to the heart of this issue. He talks about the bottom third of the socioeconomic spectrum, the working class Americans, black, brown, white, who were the base that elected this president. Those are the people feeling the most pain. And here's the cruel irony. The people who voted for this administration, hoping their lives would improve, are the ones getting hurt the most. Think about what that means. If you're wealthy, if you've got money in the stock market, you're doing fine. Your 401k is great. But if you're working class, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, trying to put gas in your tank and food on your table, you're drowning. And no amount of talking about stock market highs is going to help you pay your bills. People want quick results. They want immediate relief.
Could become wealthy like he did. Here's how Greene talked about Trump, though, in this moment here in 2025. Watch.
I think the president needs to be aware that he's a billionaire, president of the United States, and you can't gaslight people and tell them that their bills are affordable. And you can't tell them that the economy is an A+++. You just can't do that. And I think it's insulting to people's intelligence.
And the Democrats are picking up on that messaging. They're saying, thank you very much, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You are hearing more and more. The Democrats who have not been very good on messaging, here are three things you're going to hear them say. Donald Trump doesn't get it. He's living in a billionaire bubble, and he is, quote, out of touch. They're messages that resonate and go through.
Kevin O'Leary, do you think President Trump, I mean, this is someone who, again, took a lot of people by, I was actually on the campaign trail in 2016, and I will say I was taken a little bit less surprised by some of my colleagues who were here in Washington and New York, because you could see it every day, right? But a lot of people were taken by surprise by the numbers of people that voted for Donald Trump, sent him to the White House in 2016 because they were angry, disaffected, disillusioned. They were frustrated, and he tapped into and made them feel like he understood their pain, right? That was then. Now, is Donald Trump out of touch?
No, I don't think so. You got to remember, in every midterm, the incumbent always gets pressure and loses seats. I mean, that's part of the package. The Greene story, she's getting her moment, but she'll, as I say, I have no respect for her, but she's roadkill in the Republican Party, and she has no implementation on policy, so I don't give a damn what she says. And I hate to be crass, but she's not going to affect how I invest dollars. I'm more interested to see what the cabinet looks like on January 31st, because that's the team that's going into the midterms on policy. So a lot of things you talked about, no tips and all that stuff, no tax on that. I'm not a fan of the free $2,000 helicopter money. That's inflationary, but we'll see what it looks like. But right now...
So Jamie brings up the promise that was made. Vote for me, I will fix it. Day one. Remember that? Day one, everything changes. Well, things haven't gotten better. They've gotten worse. And this is where the messaging falls apart completely, because you can't run on I'll fix everything immediately and then tell people to be patient when it doesn't work. But this moment, right here, this is where everything crystallizes. They play a clip of Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I need you to understand how significant this is. This is someone who has been one of the most loyal allies, and she just said on national television, he's a billionaire president, and you can't gaslight people and tell them their bills are affordable. You can't tell them the economy is an A++. It's insulting to people's intelligence. When your own people start saying you're gaslighting voters, that's not just bad polling, that's a crisis. And Democrats are picking up on this. They're using her exact words. The messaging is simple and it's devastating. He doesn't get it. He's living in a billionaire bubble. He is out of touch. Here's why this matters historically. During the Great Depression, Franklin Roosevelt understood something fundamental about leadership during economic hardship. He didn't tell people everything was fine. He acknowledged their pain and said, we're going to fight through this together. That's called empathy. That's called meeting people where they are. When you're a billionaire telling working families their struggles aren't real, you've lost the plot completely. And the panel brings up something I think is really important. There was this image of the everyman's rich guy, right? Like if you worked hard, you could become successful too. That narrative is gone. Because when you're flying around in private jets and living in gold-plated towers while telling people their $6 hamburger is no big deal, nobody believes you understand their life anymore. Kevin comes back and dismisses Marjorie as roadkill in the party. Says he doesn't give a damn what she says. And you know what that tells me? Panic. Because when your response to criticism from your own side is to attack the messenger that viciously, you're not confident in your position. You're defensive because you know there's truth in what she's saying. The reality is this. Midterms are approaching, and voters have long memories. They remember what was promised versus what was delivered. They remember being told everything would be fixed quickly. They remember being told the economy is great while their bills keep going up. And here's what history teaches us. Voters punish the party in power when they feel economically squeezed. That's not opinion. That's a pattern that plays out over and over. So where does this leave us? With an administration that's repeating the exact mistakes that destroyed the last one. With working families getting crushed while being told everything is fine. And with internal voices starting to break ranks because they see the writing on the wall. This isn't sustainable, and everyone knows it. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.